just last week, my cousin actually came over and she let me know that her 12-year-old daughter was pansexual. And I have a hard time kind of like letting people know my opinion about that.
This was on Saturday, but she told him that his daughter died in October, and they never told my friend, so my friend was pretty hurt. I guess how to love him, how to treat him in this situation.
Back off. Maria, welcome to the show. You're on the air.
Hey, good morning, Jesse. Just wanted to say I love your show, and I hope all is well on your end.
Thank you, and all is well. It's amazing.
It's so nice talking to you. First of all, I just wanted to let you know that I was so against like that idea that you would always push the whole like women are evil at first. I don't know why I was kind of like bothered by that.
Right.
But the more that I listened to your show and like as things were happening in my life, I kind of realized that what you were saying was true. And it's kind of hard, like, having to look into the mirror and realizing that that's true. And really, I've gone through a lot of soul searching. But why I really called was because before all of this, before I pretty much got on the right path, I was kind of for the whole LGBTQ movement. And as I'm going through life, I'm seeing my friends, my cousin, it's like with their kids, they're kind of pushing it onto them. And just last week, my cousin actually came over and she let me know that her 12-year-old daughter was pansexual. And I have a hard time kind of like letting people know my opinion about that. I have a really strong opinion about that, but I've always had a hard time kind of like letting people know what my opinion is. And I pretty much changed the subject. I got really uncomfortable. But I was wondering, Jesse, what would you have done in my place? Would you have?
Well, I wouldn't know until I'm in that situation. I never assume how I would act in any situation until when and if it happens. But I do want you to know is that you don't have a right to worry about it or to give it even one thought. If that's what she want to do to her child, then she's going to have to suffer the consequence because she's evil and she's turning her child over to evil, and there's nothing you can do about it. I wouldn't even think about it. If she want to do it, okay, go ahead on. And she'll have to pay the price for that, and her daughter will have to suffer the price because the sins of the parents are passed on from generation to generation. And we don't have a right to worry about what someone else does, not even our own children. So you just wish her well. And I wouldn't agree with it. If you don't agree with it, hey, I don't agree with that. Here's why. But I wouldn't argue with her about it. I would not try to convince her that she's wrong. I would just let her live it or hell and pass it on to the children. There's nothing you can do about it. We don't have a right to either feel good or bad or angry or happy or anything for what someone else does. And we shouldn't judge them or anything. They have a right to live in their hell and love their hell and stay there if they want to.
Okay. So like me and her, we were like sisters, and it's like I don't have any sisters, and she was like legit my sister, and it's just sad because I really wanted our kids to grow up together and everything like that. But now I'm kind of like, I notice I'm kind of pushing away from her. I'm kind of shielding my son from like seeing them as well because, I don't know, they were such happy kids, and I just noticed they turned really bitter. They're always kind of angry, and
yeah,
I just don't want that around my son. So you think it's okay to kind of like put that sort of boundary to where like I don't come around her that often, because sometimes I feel like I'm kind of not showing her enough love. And it's like, I feel like if she had me like giving her my opinion, she would probably go about it a different way.
No, you're absolutely right in protecting your children from evil. But don't judge her at all. Don't be angry at her about it. Don't don't feel sorry for her about it. Don't just don't you judge her. Let her live in her hell. But yes, you're right to protect your kids about it from it. And even if she ask, well, why don't you let your kids come around anymore? Why don't you play with her? Just say, well, I don't want my kids around what you allow your kids to do. I'm not for that. I don't want them to be corrupt by that. But don't be angry. Don't argue with her. But because, again, she has a right to live in her hell, and you have a right to protect your family from it. You are not wrong for protecting your family. You will only be wrong if you judge her, if you became angry at what she have decided to do in her life.
Okay, Jesse, I think I needed that reassurance. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
And you're welcome. Let me ask. You said it's a little difficult to hear the truth that women are evil.
It was in the beginning just because I didn't want to like accept the fact that my mom was evil
Right.
or I was evil but taking a step back and looking at it, it really opened up my eyes to a lot of things. I came to realize like no, it's not okay when I just scream at my kid or when I try to justify my screaming or my
Yeah.
opinion and I try to push it on him. So I think I realized the damage that my mom did to me. So I'm trying so hard, Jesse, to not put that same perspective on my son. It's like for years, my mom, she pretty much put a lot of hatred in me and my brother for my dad leaving us.
Yeah.
And now that I pretty much grew up and I see like that I'm trying to have a relationship with my dad and she can't even stand like hearing the fact that we go over to his house or things like that.
What an evil woman.
Yeah, no, it's bad, Jesse. So that's why it's like with my son, it's like I don't say anything bad about his dad. I actually push him to like, oh, if you want to text him, like you should text him, you should call him. I don't push him to like ask to see him or anything, but I do talk to his dad and I let him know like, hey, you should like come and pick him up or
Right on.
just shoot him a message, call him, show that you care.
And even
Because
in your heart, don't be angry at his father because his father cannot help himself either. He's dealing with the same spirit that we all deal with. So don't even be that way in the heart because the kids will pick that up too. And just don't judge the father and just continue to work on you. Have you gone and forgiven your mother?
I'm in the process of doing that right now.
Have
I'm
you
actually going to
have you gone and forgiven your mother yet?
No.
And why you haven't done it yet?
Like, have I actually gone, like, physically up to her and verbally said, like, I forgive you?
Yes.
Because I know where it's going to lead to.
Where?
Straight to hell, Jesse. Straight to hell.
But if you forgive her, hey, mother, I'm sorry for resenting you. I realize now you couldn't help yourself. You'll be in control as well, so I understand it. And I'm sorry for resenting you. God will forgive you, and maybe she will go straight to hell, but you don't have to go back into hell with her. You'll go into heaven, and she'll go into hell. And you're not responsible for her actions. Whatever she does is on her. And don't assume how a situation is going to turn out until you're in that situation and you see how it turns out. Never assume anything. Have a wait and see.
Yeah. No, yeah, it took a while to let go of that anger once I realized what she did to me all those years. But
Well, go and forgive her and don't let the devil tell you, oh, she's going to get angry. She's going to do this and she's going to do that. If she does, you just watch her acting out like she's a crazy person, and she is, but that's on her, and it has nothing to do with you. You're working on you, and you will go free and do the silent prayer. Forgive your father for not protecting you from her. He didn't know how to deal with the hell in her. And I'm telling you, Maria, you haven't seen anything yet. You will be free, and you will have a clear mind, and you will have perfect peace.
Thank you so much, Jesse. I really do appreciate you.
You're welcome. Let me know how it goes, all right?
Okay. Stay blessed.
And you too, and stay with the silent prayer. No matter what happens, do the silent prayer.
Will do.
Okay.
Thank you, Jesse.
You're welcome. Amazing. Firm, welcome to the show. You're on the air.
Hey, Jesse, how are you?
All is well. Thanks for calling.
Hey, I have a pretty crazy, weird situation. I need advice from you.
Okay.
I was at my best friend's son, his birthday, his first year's birthday party, and he got a call that day. He has a daughter out in Missouri, and the mom called my best friend and told him that his daughter had died, and this was on Saturday, but she told him that his daughter died in October, and they never told my friend, so my friend was pretty hurt, and she didn't want to talk to him about anything, so she said, you have to talk to my husband about it, and she hung up. And so he hasn't called. He doesn't know how she died. He doesn't know where she died, what happened, or anything like that. And his mom, my best friend's mom, just died last month. So he's dealing with 2 deaths. And he's kind of a very sweet guy, very quiet guy, has a loving heart. He's a Christian. He really believes in God. He loves people. But he's just hurting, and he doesn't want to respond to anything. I've tried calling him and texting him, but he doesn't want to reply. He only told me. So I just don't know what to do.
About what? I mean, I know all those things are happening, but what is it that you can do?
I guess how to love him, how to treat him in this situation.
Back off.
Okay.
And if he doesn't ask you for advice, let him go through what he got to go through. And if he start talking to you about his suffering, let him know not to suffer, not to hold on to that, because suffering would turn into depression. And that don't get a thrill out of suffering, and to let it go and move on with his life.
That's what I'm worried about. He did that only one time in his life, where he just held on to his suffering. This was years ago, because we grew up together.
Right.
And he just became the most miserable, depressed, lonely person ever. And I saw a spark of that when he was telling me this, and I just don't want him to go down that path.
Why not?
Because I love him. I don't want him to.
If you love him, you let him. If you love him, you let him go down the path he have to go down. Have you noticed that God? You believe in God?
I do.
Have you noticed God let you go down the path you have to go down? He doesn't stop you.
Yes.
Why not be the same with him if you love him?
I mean, no, I'm hearing what you're saying. I just.
So why not let him love him enough to let him suffer, so maybe he'll cry out to God and overcome his hell? Why are you trying to stop him from going down the path of whatever it is? There's nothing you can do about it. You shouldn't feel sorry for him. And if he asks for advice, you tell him he need to drop it. It didn't happen to him. It happened to them.
Okay. I'm just trying to because I agree with you. I do agree with you, but I'm just trying to share some love as much as I can, and I think just dropping it would seem that it's the best thing to do, but I also wouldn't want just to be 100% absent from him. You know what I mean? Without telling him anything.
If he knows that you're his best friend, right?
Yeah, he does.
And he knows that he can talk to you about anything if he wanted to, right?
Yeah, he does.
Well, then when he's ready to talk to you, he will. And if he's never ready, he won't. It's on him and not you. And stop identifying with his pain or him. He got to travel. He got to travel that road by himself. You can't take it with him.
Should I at least just be aware of how he's doing? Like, I'm not saying follow up with him, seeing what he's doing, but if he's suffering and suffering and suffering and misery and misery and misery, you're telling me just to still kind of let him walk that walk?
Unless he reach out to you. Let him walk that walk. Let him suffer his misery and suffer and suffer and suffer. And even if he decided to take his own life and you find out that he did, he made that decision because he listened to evil.
Alrighty.
You're not responsible for him at all, FERN. Don't take that on you. we as individuals are responsible for ourselves only. And again, you are available. You're his friend. He knows he can talk to you about anything. He knows that if you need a shoulder to lean on in the right way, you're there. But you can't make that happen, because if you make that happen, you're going to interfere with his suffering, and he might not cry out to God. He'll cry out to you. And then the next time something happens, he'll be even worse
Mm.
because he's not overcoming evil.
That's true. He does have. We both have a relationship with God. We go to church. We're both a part of the band, and
Right.
we know each other very well, and we know each other spiritually very well. We've been through a lot of things together. He during my time where I've been suffering,
Right.
and during his time, and so I just know this is a very big deal for him, and that's why I'm just worried. That's all.
But he shouldn't make that a big deal. It's not. I know that what you mean, that he is making that a big deal, but he shouldn't make it a big deal at all, because it didn't happen to him.
Hmm.
It happened to his daughter and his mother, and this woman that he had the baby with. Apparently, she didn't care enough to let him know, and so she's going to have to pay a price for that, not him.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
And so he just realized he made a baby with an evil woman, and that's what happens when we don't do it in the right way, and just learn from it so he doesn't repeat it. And again, he knows that he can talk to you about anything. It's all like you guys have been knowing each other for a long time, and so don't impose on him. Let him go through his hell until he reach out to you, and if he reaches out. And when you see him in the band, don't be looking at him all sad eyes and oh baby, oh, how you doing?
Yeah.
How you doing
No,
today, babe? You, you be of high spirit, high love, and don't let him drag you down into his hell. And we don't have a right to feel sorry for someone in their hell.
Okay. So is it something like when I see him, I should be seeing him on Thursday.
Right.
Tomorrow, when I see him, is it something where I'm not going to act like nothing happened, but I'm also going to show him love by just not bringing anything up?
Well, what do you mean by you're not going to act like nothing happened? How do you act like something happened?
Kind of having that sorrowful spirit a little bit, or just being sensitive.
Why do you have a sorrowful spirit and sensitive?
Because my train of thought while you're saying that was just, if I know how sensitive of a situation this is, and for me, being sensitive to that would be, not to bring anything up that could make him think about that stuff again or whatever. I guess that's what I mean.
Did it happen to you?
No.
You shouldn't be feeling anything about it then. So that way you don't have to act sensitive or unsensitive. You just be you, because it's not happening to you, it's happening to him. So whenever you see him, hey, how you doing? In the same way you've been acting before, he had to go through what he's dealing with.
All right. Okay.
Why
For
go
sure.
down into his hell with him? You're not going to be any help to him by going into his hell by being sensitive.
Yeah, that's true. I don't want to cater to him. I'm not trying to be sensitive to him to show him like the love of a mother, because he is married. He has a wife too. We're both married, and he has a wife who loves him, but the person, we've been together through the darkest of our times, when I was going through my hell, and he's been through his hell multiple times, but this is a pretty deep one, and I just feel like, I guess all I want him to know is that, yeah, I'm there, and I think he does know that, but it's just hard for me to see him in the hell, not wanting, or I don't know, it barely happens, so that's what I'm trying to figure out, what should I do?
You should do nothing but continue with your life and stay as you are, and take your eyes off yourself, because this is all about you and not about him. How should I feel? What should I do? How can I feel better by making him feel better? It's all about you, and that's ego. That is not love. I'm going to feel better if he feels better. I'm going to feel better if I if I am sensitive and he see that I'm sensitive, it's all about him and I mean about you and not about him at all. Because if it was about
Mhm.
him, you would feel nothing about it.
That's tough to do. That's really tough to do. To just not feel for him right now.
But you're not feeling for him, you're feeling for you.
Hmm.
Because it feels
That does
good.
make sense.
It feel good to your ego to feel for him. The ego say, "Oh, you're feeling for him," so you feel good because it makes you feel like a friend. It makes you feel like a Christian. It makes you feel like you love him, you care, and it's all for you. It's not real. That's what mothers do to children.
Hmm. Yeah, that's true. That is very true.
So you need to overcome that and not let the devil deceive you. That way, you won't get in his way.
Okay.
Have you,
Okay.
have you forgiven your mother?
I have. I did. I probably like maybe 6 years ago.
You told her,
I did.
and what did she say?
she she was aware. It was hard for her to receive it because she at that time she felt like I had, they were good parents, but there was only one thing that just damaged me big time as a kid, and that's what I told her. And she kind of came off strong, saying that she didn't, it wasn't intentional, and it wasn't really her fault. That was just her dad, how she grew up. But then after like a year, she came up to me again. I was still living with them at the time. She came up to me again, and she apologized, and she told me that, you know, she saw how I felt, and she pretty much told me that she, I don't know. She just told me that she was sorry that she came off so hard when I forgave her.
But she wasn't sorry about what she did.
No, she was. That's what she was telling me the second time, and
Oh,
she
okay.
was explaining to me about her dad the second time. But the first time, I didn't understand why she was coming off so hard.
Did you forgive your father for not protecting you from her?
I have, yeah, I have. My parents are pastors, and I grew up in the home with them till I got married. And to be honest with you, they didn't shove church down my throat, but they were strict in certain areas to keep me away from just danger, but also just evil. And I would say they did a good job, but then there was also other times where I was affected by evil, whether it was because of them or not.
Yeah, because the
And
evil was right there in the home with you.
mhm.
And did you forgive your father for not protecting you from her?
If I were to answer that literally, I would say no.
And
I
why
would
not?
say, I guess I had never thought of anything. I guess I'd never thought I needed to forgive him for anything, really, from my mom.
And so when you were going through that with your mother and you were asked your father to tell her to back off to help you with her, uh, to protect you from her, what did he say when you were going
You
through
know
that?
what? You're actually kind of making sense now because I did tell him because it hurt me because I was trying, I'm just trying to forgive and
Right.
I'm trying to forgive my hurt, everything. I'm trying to let that go and just tell her that I forgive her. But when she came off hard and I told my dad, he did mention to me that at that time, she was very hard. She was in a bitter place. We were all going through some stuff, a very deep thing in our family, and she was bitter. And he was mentioning that she's like that at certain times when she knows she's wrong. She doesn't like to admit it, and she'll be hard and bitter at that time.
And did he tell her to back off you?
He did. They talked, and it was when they really talked about it. And he told I don't know what he told her, but that's when she came to me and apologized, and we were able to have that conversation.
And so have you forgiven him for not protecting you from her?
I would say, no, because I need to.
And why you haven't?
I guess I'm just. You pretty much just revealed it to me right now that I guess I never noticed that I needed to do that. I I'm noticing it now.
Right. I understand that. We just don't know. Like no one tell us, and we just don't know. But how will you get to God if you don't forgive your earthly father? How will you love God and not forgiving your earthly father?
That's a good question. I've I've tried my hardest. I would consider myself a spiritual person, a Christian, of course. And I pursue God every day, and I never noticed that that could be something that is stopping me from knowing God and getting close to God completely.
You're not going to ever get to God unless you go through your earthly father. And what that means is you got to forgive him for not protecting you from your mother. And then when you forgive him, God will forgive you, and the light will come on inside of you. The kingdom of heaven is in you, and you start living from that kingdom.
Hmm. Yeah, that's something I'm willing to do. I am willing to do that.
Yeah.
But I just didn't know. I didn't even know I had anything towards him. To me, I looked up to him as like, every kid who has their dad in their life, they look up to them as their hero. But I've seen him, and I've seen what he's gone through as a pastor. It's just accusations, false accusations, and everything that's just been taking place, and for him just to stay humble. And I just looked up to him as a great example of how to follow God. And I didn't even know that there was something that he did in my life that has hurt me, and that was not protecting me from my mom. That's what I'm just realizing.
Yeah. Perms, can you hold for 1 minute?
Yeah.
And are you doing the silent prayer?
I tried it for the first time last week, and I continued to do it after that.
Nice. Stay with it. Do you do the hoop and the holler prayer stuff too?
No, what I started doing once I learned about the silent prayer is I start with the silent prayer in the morning, and I'll do that for right now. I'm about around 3 minutes, 4 minutes. That's probably where I can get to. And after that, I just say a pretty quick verbal prayer for another 2 minutes, just expressing my gratitude towards God that I'm just have breath in my lungs, and I thank him for my family and my wife. And after that, I would say I go on with my day.
And why?
And I still think about God, though.
You think about him?
Like during work or during the drive or whatever. I do keep God in my mind. I try to keep God in my mind as much as possible.
And why do you think about him?
Just to keep me focused on loving him and not loving myself. If I don't think about him, or if I don't try to think about him, I'm going to think about me, and I'm going to end up just doing what I want to do, what I desire, and it's evil.
But you're doing that anyway. Why are you thinking about God? That's not stopping you from doing that. Have you noticed that?
I'm starting to notice that.
And thinking about God is just thinking about God. It has no meaning because all thoughts are all lies all the time. You don't need to think about God. You just need to stay present with God, meaning don't be in your head thinking about the past or the future. You want to stay present. God is in the present. Then you will know him and you are with him at all times. But thinking about God, you're with the devil. All thoughts are all lies all the time. Thinking about God is just a thought with no meaning. God didn't tell you to think about him. He said be present with him. Come into the present, meaning don't be in your head thinking about the past or the future, what has happened or what's going to happen, and blah, blah, blah. All you have is right now. And you're supposed to stay, the kingdom of heaven is here and now at all times.
I believe that. No, I believe that 100%. And I guess setting my thoughts, because that makes sense. I understand that there's no power, and that's not going to do anything. Just thinking about God,
right?
But maybe what I'm trying to say is that I'm trying to live out in the present. You can consider it a righteous life, or attempting to be righteous. Knowing when evil is in my presence, and knowing that the presence of God is with me, and I'm in the presence of God, and staying there, it actually does match up with what you're saying. Staying there rather than leaving that, because leaving the presence of God to participate in the evil that's around me. I guess that might be a better description.
When you're in your thoughts, you're with evil. You're one with evil. When you're outside of the thoughts, you're one with God.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Satan works in your mind and emotions. If you're into feeling good or feeling bad, anger and laughter and all that stuff, you're worshiping the devil because that's the nature of the devil. But when you're present, when your mind is with your body is always present. That's where God is. When you're present, you're with God. And you're protected from evil because you're not in thoughts.
You know, I think that's true, because when I was thinking about my friend, his situation, I got bitter, not towards God, but I just got bitter.
Yep. Because you're worshiping the devil. You're playing God. You can't even save yourself, and here you are thinking you need to do something to help save your friend, and you can't. You're playing God. It's all. Go ahead.
It's a tough realization, because, you know, I feel like being a person who, being a Christian and then being a person who desires to love other people, to me, I would, you know, love to me is being there for somebody, and I understand what I'm starting to realize now, but really, the love of God is allowing that person, whoever you want to love, you know, to love God for themselves.
Yes.
Really.
Don't get in their way of suffering or anything, so they can come to love God. If that's what they want, they might not even want it.
But is there a fine line between allowing somebody to love God for themselves and then loving that person?
You love them by staying out of their way and don't play mama.
That's true, huh? I am acting like my mom. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, you're just like your mama.
I'm going to make them breakfast.
Beta!
I'm just kidding.
Does your wife obey you?
Yeah, yes, and she made me breakfast this morning.
Does she obey you?
Yes.
How do you deal with the hell in her when it comes out?
It's funny because I allow her. That's weird. I allow her to go through what she needs to go through without intervening, because I love her, and I know I've seen her overcome things in her life, but it was when she would do her own thing with God, not when anybody else intervened with her.
Yes. And
I just tell her, I said, look, I'm here for you, you know, or if we're arguing, I always tell her, like, look, I was wrong. If I was wrong, I was wrong. Or if I feel she was wrong, I tell her, look, I'm upset because this is what I think, and I think that you do this, but I'm just letting you know that, and I forgive this whole thing. Let's just drop it. Like, I'm sorry. And if she still has some type of emotion and stuff, I let her just deal with that on her own. That's how I handle her. But I don't know why I can't handle other people. I don't treat other people that way.
Because in front of other people, you're trying to seem like a nice Christian guy, and you're not. You get ego feeling from being that way with other people. But so cut it out. Just don't do it anymore. And do the silent prayer. Why you can't last, but when you're doing the silent prayer, why only 3 minutes?
I have trouble. I could stay quiet in my mind for 3 minutes, and then after that, I think just the engine starts going, and I can tame it a little bit, but I feel like I'm not fully at a quiet place in my mind after 3 minutes.
What you want to do, don't try to create a quiet space or anything like that. You just want to observe the thoughts, the so-called good ones and bad ones that's coming and going. You want to observe them consciously, meaning be aware of them and the emotion that comes with them and everything, And when you're in thought, come back to your body. And God is allowing you to see that, and He's destroying the devil in your mind. He's taking the devil away from you. Don't you try to do anything but watch the thoughts. And the devil's not going to like that, so he's going to try to overwhelm you with thoughts. But you still sit there and just watch him. And just watch. Don't call it good or bad. Don't communicate with the devil or anything. Just watch those thoughts. That's all you need to do. Watching it is the light of God, and the light will destroy the darkness.
All righty. Could I just recap and kind of, and you can just tell me if this is right or wrong of what I've learned right now from talking to you?
Right.
Okay. So 2 things regarding what to do with my friend. What I learned from you is allow him to go through the suffering and cry out to God on his own. That's what to do. The second thing, and then still show him, like, still be there for him, but by showing him that nothing's changed.
Right,
and
by you being yourself. Don't change because he's changing. You still be you. The way you would normally act around him, you do the same.
Yeah, exactly. And so I learned that. I would have never thought of that, but I think you're correct. The second thing, this is regarding myself. What I learned about myself today is, one, I never knew, but I never knew this, but I do need to forgive my father for not protecting me from my mother, and I didn't realize that, but I did realize that now. And then also, even though my heart was really in the right intentions towards loving people and being there for people, I was being deceived at thinking that was love, and I didn't realize that what I was really loving was my ego, that I didn't even try to build up. I didn't even put that together because I try hard. I used to have a lot of pride when I was growing up. I wanted to be the best at everything, at sports. And I got called out on that for that. A good friend of mine told me that. And so it woke me up, and I tried to eliminate that in my life. And on going forward with that, I tried to be the most humble person I could be. So I never would consider that ego still alive in my life. But what you're saying is, by me trying to love people in my own way, not through the love of God, I am doing it for my ego.
100%. And that is the female nature in you. You know how mama always try to be there for somebody? And it's all her ego trying to make herself feel good. It's not for somebody else, it's for her. And so that's that female nature that you want to overcome just by seeing that. And it sounds like you see it now, but don't judge it. Don't call yourself right or wrong, good or evil. It's enough to see it, and seeing it would change it. You don't have to do anything else but see it.
Okay, will do. Also, too, I just wanted to share, this is the last thing I got to say, is whoever plays the music on your show, they have a good taste. I Shazam almost every track because I like it. I just added to my music playlist. There's some really, really good music on this show. I think that just, at least needs to be said because I don't hear anybody talking about it. It's some good music.
Nice. That's good to hear. Hassan, I think. Hassan, you responsible for that, right? Hassan.
Amazing.
Thank you.
All right.
And so, listen, one last thing. Don't argue with your wife ever again. You just tell her she need to overcome her anger, the hell that's in her. Don't argue with her because you're arguing with the devil. And the devil in you is arguing with the devil in her. And it gives her a false sense of life when she can argue with you. It makes her feel alive because the devil has been turned away from God. He has no life. He and his little demons have no life at all. And so they try to get life by hurting others, arguing with others, imposing their will on others and all that. Don't argue with your wife. Just tell her to overcome her hell. If not, let her stay in her hell. But don't cater to her emotions or anything because it's all hell.
For sure.
It's all evil spirits. Don't let her drag you into her hell.
For sure. Will do.
All right. Let me know how it goes, man. I wish you well. Do the silent prayer.
All right. Thank you.
All right, buddy.
Bye.
Bye. Amazing.